right, good evening, everyone. This is the Infrastructure and Energy Committee meeting on October 21st at 5 o'clock p.m. This meeting of the Barnstable Infrastructure and Energy Committee is being recorded and will be posted for future viewing on the Town of Barnstable website under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20. Anyone else desiring to make such a recording or transmission must notify the chair. And with that, over to you, Barry.
Yeah, and I just want to say before the meeting, Kristen Turkelson, who is on the call or listening, may only be listening because she's traveling and may not have the ability to join in. So I just wanted to let people know that. So why don't we delay the minutes? It'll give Jane and others the time to review them. So why don't we just go into old business and start with green communities? Last meeting, Lisa Sullivan made a presentation. She's the regional representative from DOER on the Green Communities Program. I think a key takeaway there is the revisions to the stretch code that DOER had proposed that basically would provide more leniency and flexibility, really, especially for remodelings of projects, of houses. That's going to take some time for DOER to review the comments and to issue a revised regulation on that. It's probably going to be a few months. And so I think we talked about before we take further action that we should see that those revised regulations are in effect. So, there are some to-do items, but I think until that, make some more progress, at least I have not done anything in the interim. And there was a few follow-up things, for example, with David Anthony, but I don't think until the rules are revised, we should be asking the staff to do much further work on this.
My only comment, and I don't think it needs immediate work, is that I've been paying quite a bit of attention this week to the school indoor air issue at the Barnstable Unified Elementary School.
Yeah. Let's hold that for.
Okay, the only thing I want to say that was relevant to green communities was the funding for green communities can be applied to HVAC system upgrades, and those could be dual purpose in terms of not only increasing energy efficiency but also improving indoor air quality. That's all. So it's a kind of a dual purpose, dual benefit, win-win type funding, if that were to happen.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I think when we get into updates, I know that there's a bigger discussion there. Why don't we save that discussion for that?
But to me, that's another point in favor of being a green community. If this is a major expenditure by the town, it could be both energy efficiency and improvement in indoor air.
Right, and I think according to what Lisa said, it can be used, as you said, for upgrading the HVAC system, although not specifically for mold remediation. But they're related. So, all right. Does anyone else have anything to say on green communities?
Just the other thing that I think we're waiting for is the updated cost benefit analysis from DOER, which I think will be very helpful in explaining why this is worth doing.
Yeah, so that's another piece of it. It's not clear to me whether that will be provided with the revised regulations or will be done separately.
Yeah.
But you're right, that's another important piece of this. And that's in the town's comments. There was a request for an updated analysis with some specificity about what cost and benefit elements should be included. Okay, thanks. All right. Let's move on to food waste. So John, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Okay, so we've been trying to set up a meeting with Tom McKean and perhaps also Brian Florence. I have not heard, I've emailed Tom twice since our last meeting and have not heard back. Initially, he responded saying that he would meet with us and propose some times, but we were waiting to hear from Brian. And then those times, and did not hear back from Brian. All those times have passed, and I have not heard from him since. I tried this afternoon. I tried calling, so hopefully, maybe I'll get a response tomorrow. But maybe we need to be thinking about how we follow up on that.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. John kind of updated me on that earlier today, and give it a little more time, and maybe I can follow up with Brian, who's Tom's boss, basically. I don't know if that, John, if you think that would be appropriate,
or maybe you try following up with. I mean, it might be good to have a different voice, because I don't want to just be I think if I just keep pestering him, might become maybe a little less annoying if somebody else tries.
Try him first, and then Brian. Yeah, I'm willing to do that.
I think, but I think we should keep pushing until we get there.
Yeah, and there's really no reason they shouldn't be talking to us. Right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we're going to go away.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of their job to talk to us if we ask them, particularly a preliminary conversation like this. So.
Yeah.
Okay, and then anything else, John? Or
well, on the question of the transfer station, we seem to be. I'm not sure exactly where we stand with the question of improving the signage there. I don't know if that, I mean, maybe Chris, you can help clarify on this. Is that, I mean, it sounds like maybe that is not part of the communication plan that the DPW communications folks are working on, or is that just is something that you see as more of up to the folks at the transfer station?
Being so new, I'm not exactly certain.
Yeah.
I took a swing by the transfer station on Friday, and I was finally able to see the signage that is there. In terms of directional signage, it's not that bad, in my opinion. It's not perfect, but there's always stuff to improve. I think the signage that we do need to look at is something that says, no plastic bags, like we talked about last week. Mm-hmm. Paper bags only, something along those lines. So that is something that I can look into doing. And I think with that, we'll see a good chunk of that contaminant removed, hopefully. And then spiral that into a social media outreach plan.
Yeah, a couple of things. I mean, one is that I think what we want to also do is have signage that explains all the benefits of collecting. I think we want to have a sign there that really encourages people to do that. That's in a more prominent place where people will see it. And then secondly, I mean, I guess I disagree just in terms of directional signage, in terms of making it easy for people to locate it. I mean, the issue that I have is that if you are in the recycling area, you can't see the sign that says where the food, when you go to recycle, you pull in the recycling area and there's signs for plastic and metal and glass and everything, but you can't see the sign directing you to the food waste shed. There is a sign that's visible as you're driving out, but only if you look over to the left there. And I think we really want to, I mean, my view is that we want to make this very prominent because we really want to emphasize to people that if you're recycling, this is really what you should be focused on.
So I don't want to tread on any toes.
Yeah.
I will absolutely ask the question.
Yeah.
I think I also mentioned this in one of my emails to you.
Mm-hmm.
I think it might even be worthwhile to essentially at the start of the recycling area have almost a diagram sign of saying, paper is here, glass is here, batteries are here, food waste is here. Because of course, yes, we want to focus on the food waste, but we can also get everyone else to kind of get on board and say, hey, this is all here. That's a lot easier of a sell than hey, we're food waste, we want the only sign. So I will talk with whoever I need to talk with and figure that out.
No, that's a good idea. I think that's a good suggestion to improve the signage overall.
Yeah, I think that in terms of just for plastic in particular, having something that explains what you can and can't put into the plastic bin, and glass and metal are a little more straightforward. I think paper could probably use some clarification as well as to what goes in there. So so if we're looking at it as sort of the signage for all the recycling, is that sort of what you're proposing?
What I'm proposing is just essentially a map.
Yeah.
On a sign of just saying, this is the glass dumpster, this is the plastic dumpster, this is the food waste, this is the batteries.
Yeah.
In terms of the clarifying plastics and papers, I don't know exactly. I can bring that up.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
Yeah, I think having a sign. I think the issue is when you get to the recycling part, you see where the paper and the bottles and the cans go, and they're kind of interspersed among a whole line of things. But the food waste is at the very end. It doesn't seem to be part of it, to me, anyways, going through there. So having that with the other recyclables that are like the batteries as well at the end, that would be helpful. I think that's a good idea.
Right.
Yeah. But I mean, I guess when you pull in there, you don't have any trouble seeing where they're pretty prominent signs showing for all plastic and glass and all of that. And then the other thing is I mean, actually to take a step back, Chris, do you want to share the slides that you pulled together on the
totally
on the amount that we're collecting?
Sorry, I'm just trying to think of where I saved it to. Yeah, absolutely. So just as I'm pulling this up, just so you know, when I asked Tracy, who oversees the transfer station, a bunch of the questions about what is or isn't allowed, I also asked him to share some data. I see. Oops, it's not there. I totally. Hang on. Let me do it this way. Sorry, folks. I don't have any hold music.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here we go. So, if I can share this screen. There we go. Actually, everyone see it?
Yep.
Yep. Awesome. So this is what I got from Tracy. I actually just got a giant Excel file and I put it into something that we can actually all understand. So one note on this is I'm not entirely sure of what the actual weight is. And when I say that, I mean, I don't know exactly the measurement. I don't know if it is pounds. I don't know if it is tons, kilograms, whatever. Personally, I think at least looking at the data analysis, it's all the same unit. So yes, it would be nice to know, but it's not necessarily required. So this is weekly, and I will break it down a little bit more, but I just wanted to show every week. It is, I think it's on Thursdays that they collect, and this is everything. You see there's a spike right here that is right around Christmas of 2023, and so presumably Christmas of 2024 we'll get that same spike. The first date on this is July 2nd, and then this goes to about 2 weeks ago when they last collected. So this is just taking all that data, putting it into months. As you see, it is slowly increasing. This is also by month. I know that some people like line graphs, some people like bar graphs, so I got you both. And then the last thing I did, then I'll turn it right back over to John. This is the food waste usage. So the program has been going for more than a year, but there's 3 months currently that have overlapped. And so I just pulled those 3 into just to be able to give something to compare data with.
Yeah. And Chris, I was thinking that the units, it looks like they're usually around 3. So I'm thinking that maybe that means 3 totes. Could that be?
I would hope so.
Yeah.
I don't want to make an assumption.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but again, it is all the same weight unit across all of the data.
Yeah.
And I think I responded with Tracy, but he's dealing with some stuff right now, not about the transfer station, just some other issues. And so he hasn't gone back to me about that yet. But it's also, again, not a huge deal.
Yeah. So but basically, my takeaway from these trucks is that it is increasing slowly, but we're, it's a fairly small amount increasing slowly. So I think we are kind of looking to do something to make a more dramatic change. And I certainly like the idea of the social media program, but I do think that just we have an opportunity just with signage at the transfer station where we have, we have a particular target audience, which is the folks who are in fact going to the transfer station and recycling. These are folks who are, there's no one really stopping them from putting all their recycling just in with the other trash, but they're taking the extra time to do that because they think it's the right thing to do. And so I think that's a group that could be persuaded to also do their food waste.
Yeah.
And I just think that, they're right there. I mean, they walk right up to all these bins. I think some a signage that explains to them all the benefits of recycling. I think it could make a difference.
Yeah. My concern is I don't want too many signs there. I know we already have quite a few. And so I mean, definitely one of the things I want to do is actually look at the signs in detail and actually see, okay, what do we really need? Because if there's too many signs, then no one's going to read any sign. But I definitely agree that we could have some form of additional signage, possibly. And I do see that Kristen just raised her hand. She's there. She is muted.
Hi, can you hear me?
There she goes. Yes, we hear you.
I just wonder if in thinking about this, that you might want to take maybe the busier days that the transfer station is being used and put a couple of yourselves out there and poll the audience. Ask them how many people when you go up to, 20 people on a couple hours out there, how many people are in the recycling area, know of the composting, participate in the composting, and what would be the barriers to getting them to participate? Because I think if you can understand, you have this target audience, people who recycle. The question is how can you convert those people to composting people? What's going on there? And I don't think we have an idea. So signage might not be the issue. Maybe it's that they don't have a place to keep composting in their house. Maybe it's they think it's too messy. I have no idea what the reasons are, but I just think you need to figure out how can you convert those people. And the only way to do it is to ask the people that are showing up that you want to convert.
Well, that's a good idea.
I also think that's a good idea. And if we think it's a good idea, probably the next step is maybe through Chris asking Tracy if he would be okay with that as a way of getting information, and assuming that we're willing to provide the labor to do that. Obviously, we have the interest. What do folks think about that?
Seems like a good.
I think certainly we start with Tracy. We certainly would need his buy-in that this is a good thing to do. But I'd be happy to go down there and spend some time sitting, talking to people. Set up a table.
Okay, so and then maybe in getting ready for that discussion, maybe the first thing is just create what the questions are going to be. Which would be, make them brief, not too many questions. So it'll be clear what it is we're going to be asking people.
One other thing, I don't know if anybody watched the town council meeting, was that last week? The Joint Base Cape Cod presentation.
Yes, I was going to mention that too. That was
good.
Very
interesting. I'll let you go over that then, Jen. Perfect. I'm glad somebody else saw it.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Apparently the Joint Base is going to host a town, industrial scale composting trial. And I just Googled when did that first show up, and apparently in June it was announced in an publication, something like Waste Today. What is it called? It's Waste Today magazine. And it's being led. I just hadn't heard about it until Thursday night. An $80,000 grant will fund a feasibility study, and they're going to start trying a community scale composting. And they mentioned Carrie Purcell as well as Mary Reither from Falmouth Department of Public Works as being the two leads. And so General Foe, they were going over all the different things, kind of a general update of all the different things happening at the base and community interface. And he mentioned this, community level composting trial that was to begin at the Joint Base. So be interesting maybe to get back in touch with Carrie and say, tell us more about it.
Absolutely.
I'd never heard of it till Thursday. And Kristen, I'm glad you picked up on that too, because I thought that was a great step forward. Under the radar, though, I didn't know anything about it till Thursday.
Yeah, I had heard something about it, but it was more speculative as opposed to something that was going to.
I'll forward this little blurb that said, check Waste Management Today or whatever the magazine is. I think I sent it to myself. And
John, also, if you could be the point person on that.
Sure,
too.
I will.
Check with Carrie. What's up?
Yeah. And Kristen, thanks so much for bringing that up. I appreciate it.
Yeah. All right, I will follow up on that.
Okay, good. All right, anything else on food waste?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, well, let's move on to, I guess, Chris is not here. He usually does the climate change and climate science piece, but I'll open it up to anybody who wants to bring anything up that's relevant.
As far as climate,
Right.
I think just that, I've seen more articles in the last couple weeks since the two big hurricanes in the South that everybody needs to be paying more attention to hurricane resilience. And it'd be very interesting to have Chris's input when he's back with us, just because one of the things that was brought up also at the town council meeting was relevant to the relocating and basically hurricane hardening the parking lot at Sandy Neck Beach. I think the study for the 50-year flood mark or something, I think that study might have been done by Chris's group, but it's a pretty huge revision of the current parking lot and the entry station as you come into Sandy Neck, the guard station or whatever, the welcome station where you check in as you pull in. There's a lot that's being proposed in this reworking. So, if the places that aren't paying attention to that type of hurricane prevention or mitigation or whatever planning may not be with us. I think we lost quite a bit on the Outer Cape in a fairly recent storm. A big staircase came down. I mean, it's happening day by day. So anyway, it's just another reminder that it has to be an ongoing project.
Yeah, and this is not something I have any particular expertise in, but you keep hearing about the 100-year floods and 500-year floods and 1,000-year floods happening much more often than that. And so are people attempting to redefine these terms?
Well, I would guess, and Chris would know that, but I think a relevant and related issue that may be very relevant to Cape Cod is that with these enormous natural disasters, the fires in California and the flooding in Florida, the insurance industries are leaving these states. They can't afford it. And we're certainly hanging out in the breeze here, on our little sandbar. So just because we haven't had a big hurricane for quite a few years doesn't mean we're not going to get the next one. So that's another thing to be aware of.
Right.
I'm not sure there's a clear thing to do, but to be aware of it.
Right. And regardless of storm surge,
yes,
at least I'm told that all of Cape Cod is considered high risk for wind damage.
Sure. I would understand. I would not be surprised.
Yeah.
And I think it is getting harder to get homeowners insurance on the Cape.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Well, it's certainly getting more expensive. At least that's what I've experienced.
Hmm.
Okay. And anything else?
Well, I got a note back from Sean about my
about the EVs.
on my charging station, in my driveway.
Right. So that Rob, that's so that's next on our agenda. So
right.
yeah,
I'll go back this week.
Yeah, no. So but I think just go ahead. It sounds like we've exhausted what people want to say about climate science.
All right.
Well,
it's not very much. So Sean basically reached out to zoning. They said, nope, no way.
You're not allowed to charge for somebody using your home charger when you're not using it?
Apparently.
Huh.
Is that you're not allowed to do it, or you're not allowed to do it as a business, charge people for it?
Probably not sure. There was only a one-liner from Sean, so we'd have to get into it deeper, but
yeah,
maybe we should give Turkle Madam Turkelson a background on this. So basically what I wanted to do was to, I mean, if I want to get an electric vehicle, I have to put a charger in it. Normally it's put in the garage. And what I wanted to do is just put it kind of like out in the driveway so that people can, you know, use it when I'm not using it. And I would charge them for it. You know, just like anybody, just like going to a, you know, charging station in a commercial lot.
Right.
So, you know, it's not like, you know, someone's gonna drive up and sit there for a couple hours anyway. And, you know, just, you know, for people in the neighborhood that might want to use it for charging. But I guess zoning says that's not okay.
I bet it's if you charge for it. I bet that's it. I was reading about this a year or two ago as a way for nonprofits to make some income. If they had a publicly accessible parking lot, for example, at our church.
Yeah.
And they wanted to put a charger in, a level 2 charger or whatever, level 3 charger, and have it be something that church members could have a membership card and either have a discount or charge for free, but anyone else in the neighborhood is welcome to come and use it. But to pay for it and to have that be a fundraiser for the church. And apparently that was permissible. It's probably something I would need to check.
Yeah, I mean, churches are semi-commercial, so they're in a gray area.
Yeah.
Yeah, not knowing, like, full transparency, not knowing much about the zoning laws and everything, but what little information I do know, my assumption would be, just like what you said, Jane, that if you charge for it, it becomes a business and it's not zoned to be a business.
Yeah. We have a friend who does it for free in his neighborhood in California just to get more people. He's a real EV evangelist and he just wants more people to have charging be more available. And so he has a charger, like you said, sitting out on his driveway close to the street or close to the sidewalk, and people are welcome to come in his case, charge for free. I don't know if he's continued that, but he was, you know, he has solar panels on his house, a very energy efficient house, but he really is just trying to get more people interested in EVs. And one of the big hangups is accessibility to charging. So, but that was not a business. That was a charity, I guess. Community service, that's the right way to say it.
I have a charger in my garage. I let my son use it when he's visiting. So that's but now you're giving me the idea. Maybe I'll charge him for it. So anyway, all right. So anything else on electric vehicle charging? And
there was a Massachusetts recharge event that I didn't get to because I was doing something else, but it's been within the last couple of weeks. I can share the slides. It was a day-long update on EVs and charging in Massachusetts. If anyone's interested, I can share it with Chris and you can send it out to the group.
Sure. Yeah, I'd like to see that.
It's an organization, it's a national organization that works with states to promote EVs and charging in states. And so it's called Recharge Massachusetts. It's the same group that we did a EV promotion day in June a year ago at the Transportation Center. And they helped us get that organized.
Good.
So I'll share that.
Yeah, I have a plug-in hybrid, but I'm looking at buying a fully electric vehicle. Mm-hmm. So that, at least personally, that'd be of interest to me.
Yeah, good.
Okay, so now I guess next is, let me ask you, Jane, are you ready for the to act on the minutes, or do you need more time?
I haven't been reading minutes. No, I'm sorry. maybe we can have a vote after the meeting. If I read the minutes, I won't be able to pay attention to our conversations.
Okay, all right.
So I wasn't reading them, or I can, I apologize. I wasn't caught up.
Okay. Well, let's move on to new business, and then at the end, we can decide what to do with the minutes.
Okay.
So additional updates. And so I think at the last meeting, we had a presentation from this community solar firm. And we had a discussion on it. I think, and I don't know whether this was reflected in the minutes, but it was what I took from that. So, but we'll just separate it from the last meeting and discuss this as a new business item. I got the sense of the committee that regardless of how one views the merits of this, that it wasn't something that the committee wanted to focus on. And I think this organization, to me, from what I know about community solar, it's a accepted government program. I don't have anything against it, but I don't know whether really see it as the purpose of this committee to be helping an organization to basically sell their product to the community, and even if that's within our purview, I think we have more important things to do. But I wanted to just lay that out there and hear what other people's views are.
I agree with you, and maybe with even more of an emphasis, I'm very negative about having us jump into that. I've been a solar PV advocate for 15 years, and we ran a community, just sort of a community information group in our neighborhood in DC. We've had solar on several houses. We love it, but I'm very concerned that a lot of the different groups have their own agendas, and even if they are somewhat state sponsored, it requires your full attention. I think we'd have to stop everything else if we were to pick this up as a new topic and do it justice. And I don't think we should be in any way involved with promoting a specific company's business. That's my thought. When people ask me, I always direct them to several companies I know that are Cape owned, as opposed to bigger companies that are national, that are trying to get a foothold on the Cape and maybe aren't here when you run into trouble. There's 3 or 4 that are really good Cape owned solar installers, at least. Their products may be part of a national group, but they back up their work and they back up their products. And so I always direct people to those, but I really think it would take all of our attention if we were to do this. So I'm not at all in favor.
Okay. John, what's your view?
I agree. I think Jane, I think you put it well. I agree with both of you.
Okay. Rob, do you have a view on this, or?
I think it's an important issue, and I don't know if there's a way we can do it part-time or not. So, I mean,
I'm more familiar with the business model, which is different from the companies
talking about the same stuff, and it'd be useful to do something that can actually get done.
You broke away from your
Sorry, that
your image and your voice lost each other. Went out of sync.
Hello.
I think you're good now, Rob.
What did you say? What did you say, Barry?
No, I think Jane was saying that we're having trouble hearing your voice and your video are out of sync, or were out of sync.
Oh,
But that,
yeah.
yeah.
okay.
Maybe just repeat your comment.
I think it's, my feeling is we talk about the same stuff all the time, and it'd be nice to do something that we could actually do something on. So whether this is too big a project or not, I guess, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, okay, I'm familiar with the business model. I've seen it elsewhere. I don't think it's the one thing that's raised questions is the other projects are multi-megawatt projects where people get a share of them, and this is really small stuff. It, I just don't. I think this is really pretty small stuff, and it is complicated. But I just don't. To me, arguably, it's really supporting a firm and trying to get customers for this kind of business is, I think, arguably beyond the purview of the committee. But even if it's within the purview, to me, it's not really worth pursuing. So that's my sense of it. So it sounds like there's three of us of the four here. So here's my suggestion to resolve this. And I recognize Chris isn't here, Bill's not here. So why don't we just table further discussion of this activity unless someone raises it at a future meeting and thinks that's important enough to raise, and then we'll take it on then. Is that fair?
I really think we have enough on our plate right now, and
Yeah.
this could be a tar baby pretty quick.
And I think the concern about supporting a particular business, that's something we'd have to really wrestle with before we got too far into it.
I think it's against our code of ethics, frankly.
I think you would need to go to legal about that before you even consider it, because I think that probably that's not sanctioned, that a town committee be sanctioning or supporting a business, without probably the town council or some administrative or legal firm saying that it's okay. But that's just my 2 cents worth.
Yeah, I had looked into some of this in regard to food potential companies to do food waste hauling in town. And there are very specific rules about what you can and can't do. And it's an area that you really have to be very careful before getting into. I don't remember it well enough to try to say what those rules are, but I know you have to be very, very careful anytime you're getting anywhere close to that.
So without, maybe just let me do this as a motion, maybe the quickest way to deal with this. And my motion is that we table further consideration of supporting this particular company and marketing, either to the town or to residents of the town. There were a number of reasons that have been put forward. I don't think it needs to be part of the motion, but that's anyways. I second. All in favor?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, it's unanimous. So, and Kristen, I really appreciate your comment. You're probably right, but I think this avoids having to have a discussion with the legal department.
I'm sure legal will be happy to have one last conversation.
I bet you're right. Okay. So I think we talked about let me sort of a little background. So the is that the United Barnstable Elementary School had a mold problem, and this is what is it, 4th and 5th grades? I don't know if I have that exactly right.
It's
But
right. It's
yeah,
either 5th or 3rd, 4th.
yeah, it's for several grades at elementary school level had a mold problem, and there was some remediation over the summer. So I understand from what I've heard others, as well as I've talked directly with two teachers, one of which is a family friend of mine, that they believe that the problem has not been fully solved, and there's a lot of concern that there continues to be some mold and of the health effects. And I know that Jane, who has experience and knowledge in this area, sent an email to, I think, Kristen and myself before the meeting. And I'm just going to hand it over to you, Jane, because for you to talk about. And we just to say as a preface, we did not put this on the minutes as a specific discussion item, that was posted to everyone, but we'll take this as an update and then maybe put on the agenda for the next meeting, a more substantive discussion of it.
Okay, well, I honestly wasn't aware of as much at all until last week. And I think it ended up being, it just ended up being public comment at the town council meeting. 2 parents were talking about how concerned they were, and their kids were getting symptoms, respiratory symptoms. Maybe I actually saw some of it in the newspaper because it's been in the Cape Cod Times quite a bit.
Okay.
Parents had to stand out before one of the school committee meetings, a protest, because several of the kids were getting so sick. And one teacher actually testified at the special school committee meeting, which I saw as a recording, was October 8th. So 2 weeks ago tomorrow. And one of the teachers said she's never had so many kids so sick in her room, having to go to the nurse for their inhalers. So it really caught my attention because in my training, I did take care of asthmatics. I was a pediatric subspecialist, but in my training, I took care of asthmatics in the ER and the ICU, and it's a very frightening thing. And actually, about 10 years ago, when I was getting interested in green buildings, I heard that asthma is the leading cause of absenteeism in K through 12 students and staff. And that rate of asthma has gone up significantly in the last, continuously and gone up and maybe doubled in the last 5 or 10 years. So it's a huge deal. Does not affect everybody, just like seasonal allergies do not affect everybody. But it seemed like a big problem in this school. And what was interesting to me, which became sort of more of a complicated history for me, was that when COVID hit, I was just starting to sit in on this committee as just sort of a community observer. I wasn't a appointed member, but I got to the point where I'd written co-authored a letter with John Boyle, who was the vice chair of the committee, about indoor air quality during COVID and how it was an important opportunity for the town to look at all the municipal buildings, including the schools, monitor indoor air quality, because if it could be improved, it could help tamp down the pandemic. That particular letter got a lot of pushback from, in fact, it didn't get much acknowledgement. I'm not even sure it made it to the town council, but the draft that we circulated around had a lot of pushback. And I didn't know it at the time, but it was because they were already getting into a lot of discussion about this particular elementary school. In 2019, one of the teachers had to basically medically retire due to chronic respiratory problems that were definitely, in her case, linked to aspergillosis, one of the common molds. So anyway, I wasn't intending to necessarily bring this into the whole committee. I've made some comments at the town council. I talked to Gordon, because he was on this committee with me when we wrote that letter. And I've talked to 2 other town councilors, Kristen and just, I guess, with the letter to you, Barry, and also Betty Ludke, because Betty has 4 children that have been through this school district. And Kristen, I did try to make an appointment with Mark Ells. I've left a request at his office. And I've also written an email to the school superintendent saying, I don't, I'm not in this for any kind of a paid consultantship, but I do have a fair background in this area. And I recommend that the schools implement continuous air monitoring, which their hired expert said you couldn't do. And I don't know if she meant you couldn't do that, and by doing that, identify mold. She didn't specify it, but she implied that she could not do continuous air monitoring. Well, the Boston Public School District does that. They have a live feed, a live stream from all their schools, and there's a dashboard that anyone can access of the quality of indoor air in their schools at any moment. And they look at key parameters, which are, temperature, humidity, and the particular characteristic of air that's looked at to basically be a placeholder for ventilation is the CO2 level. To have people thinking properly, students, workers, people in their homes, you want your carbon dioxide level to be 800 parts per million or less. Outdoors, it's about 400 parts per million. In badly ventilated buildings, it can get up to 2,500 parts per million, which is what it is in many schools in the country. But anyway, if you do all the things to treat air to make it healthiest to avoid viral illnesses, whether it's COVID or flu or measles or any number of other airborne illnesses, you are also making the indoor air healthier, less likely to support mold.
Yeah.
So that's all I'm
what,
recommending to them, is that they do continuous air monitor, and there's lots of funding to support it.
let me ask a process question, and I'll direct it to you, Jane, and to Kristen, whoever knows. So I'm aware that it's been posted that there's a joint meeting of the town council and school committee for Thursday, and the description talks about mostly budgets. But is this issue going to be addressed at the town council meeting on Thursday?
I don't know. I'm going to bring it up in public comment. I'm going to say,
Okay.
I don't know if this is on your agenda for your budgets, but I think you should strongly consider continuous air monitoring as one aspect of your budget proposal. I feel like I'm very much an outsider, knocking on the door
Sure.
with valuable information that can be funded. There's a lot of money out there. I'm not the genius in how to get it, but it's federal, state, it's foundation. There's a lot of money, and it's a matter of health. And when you're talking asthma in kids and staff, you can talk about, we can be triggering lifelong disability, which is not something to be taken mildly. But I don't think this has to be a committee issue. I just wanted to bring it up to the committee, but also partly I wanted to bring up the historical, background that in September of 2019 or 2020, I'm sorry, this committee had written a letter to the town council suggesting that indoor air quality in all the municipal buildings, including the K through 12 schools, be done as just a baseline smart public health move. And we didn't get any response to it.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you, Jane. Kristen,
I think this is why, Jane and Barry, you really need to sit with the town manager and have a better understanding of how the school committee really functions as its own entity, kind of in a way separate from the town and the town council. Although the town council approves the budget, literally the school committee manages the money, manages
Yeah.
the facilities. And so it's not that I don't think what Jane is bringing is important. I just think that even at the meeting that we're going to have this week, they're probably not going to address it. There probably won't be anything in there particular to their budget related to this other than what's already been known to them, because they already have devised their budget and are kind of getting it refined to bring it forward for approval. So, I mean, is there time to change it? There may be, but on the same hand, if we're going to be applying for monies and that takes time, and I know nothing about air monitoring, Jane, as far as equipment and the necessary things that would take, and maybe the task of getting that done is very simple, and I feel like it would be more complicated. But I think that's why you need to really sit down with the town manager and the superintendent, because I know that the town is concerned and that they're, kind of going with the school committee to try to see how our systems people in DPW can help. But again, they run on their own. So it's a little bit of a gray area where they're trying to kind of find a way to be helpful, but also not step on anyone's toes and cross any boundaries. And I think it's more complicated than it is simple. So I think a conversation with them to understand the angle in which you can be most helpful, Jane, is where you should start with that.
Well, I've offered that to Sarah Ahern, and Gordon has offered to be with me to because he was involved in an earlier discussion of air quality in the town. Now I know that logistically this may not flow, but I'm concerned that on this issue and on a number of other issues that I consider relative emergencies, they seem to be like, well, we'll get to it when we get to it. I mean, we've declared a climate emergency. We'll get to it when we get to it. And we've adopted a policy called Complete Streets, which is supposed to help us get funding to make streets safer for all road users, drivers, pedestrians, cyclists. And we don't do much of that. And at that same town council meeting last Thursday, some mother or concerned citizen brought up the issue of the dangerous West End Rotary in Hyannis that's been complained about for 10 years and still doesn't have sidewalks so that kids can get safely from Sturgis West to the youth center. And so I don't know. Maybe I don't fit in the town. I'm used to the military where you decide something's an emergency, you at least you do some temporizing measure to make it not an emergency. And to me, a kid with asthma and parents pulling their kids out of school is an emergency. So I agree it's not a clear-cut relationship, and I have knocked on the door and offered my help without any requests for consultant fees or anything to the school and to Mark L. So if you think of any other ways I can do that, I'm glad to help. And I'm not necessarily wanting to pull this committee in, other than I wanted to let you know we did have this history of addressing this indoor air quality, not specifically mold, but as a committee, that's part of our recent history.
Yeah, and I hear your frustration, Jane. I come from the entrepreneurial, world where
get things done.
That's why I left corporate America, to be honest, because even corporate America doesn't move fast enough. But I think the reality is I don't know how much it would cost to install air monitoring.
Well, one thing is that I know of two companies that will give us several months of pro bono monitoring to see if it's useful information. Do we like it? Does it reassure staff and parents and town members and their
so I think that's what you should put in your public comment, because I think you need to decide. You have 3 minutes, and what to just be kind of throwing
right.
I'm not trying to say anything. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but
that's a good point.
I think the town knows there's a problem. I think it's resurfaced. I think that we need to, what are the ways in which your expertise can be most helpful? There's two companies, they'll do pro bono, they'll give us X amount of months. I'm here and ready. This is their information. And let's get, because I think that really, then people actually can come back to the town and say, Jane Ward gave us this lifeline. Because right now it's all in the intangibles, and I think you need to make it tangible. So use your 3 minutes wisely to get that done. Because I think, that's excellent information. And you know what? Free help, like the MIT sighting clinic, free help is a beautiful thing.
Well, that was phenomenal too, by the way. I hope we're going to mention that because that was fantastic.
I'm sorry.
The MIT offered to be sort of a
Okay. Let's,
moderating.
yeah, actually, I did have that
Another
on
topic.
my update. So, but Kristen, I think that's really a good suggestion. And I would add to that, that Jane, if you want to put it on the agenda for a future meeting, get in touch with me and we'll talk about that.
Okay, well, it might be worth it just in terms of the history of our committee, having spent probably 4 or 5 months, actually, that first summer of the pandemic, discussing how might we encourage the town to work on indoor air quality, because that was an aspect of pandemic control that was kind of overlooked for several months, and there people were fanatic about surface cleaning. And so the fact that that's coming back again with mold as the bad actor, it's the same treatment regardless of what you're concerned about. VOC.
Okay, so why don't we talk? We're going to be at the end of the meeting talking about what's going to be on the agenda for the next. Let's bring that up.
Okay.
So a couple of other things. You mentioned basically a group of MIT students, this renewable energy group. I believe that Larry Susskind, who's an MIT professor, started, I don't know, maybe 20 years ago, quite a long time ago, suggested that they would, as part of a school project not requiring any payment from the town, really interview a number of people in the town who are involved in the wind projects one way or another, and essentially as a neutral come up with some suggestions. That's the way I understood it. I think it's a good idea. I've actually worked with a third party neutral trying to get together renewable energy developer with members of the community who were opposed to the projects or had problems. And my experience actually was a very good one, in which really some ideas people came up with to solve problems and some revenue sources that otherwise weren't available to address some community concerns. So, maybe something positive will come out of this. Probably the discussion itself will be positive.
I was pretty impressed. I think they talk about listening to the concerns and whatever interests of anybody who wanted to participate at the town, and it sounded to me like a very, very worthwhile exercise to have their help because there's still, as you know, lots of controversy.
So Kristen, I understand you were the person that reached out and got this started.
Yeah, well, after I read the CEISP comments, I was kind of scrolling through the 499 comments, and I happened to come across Sanjana's comments, and what she said kind of was interesting to me. It wasn't what I expected to read, and so I just started Googling her and kind of reaching out and kind of landed on a conversation with her, and she agreed to take some time with me, and we just got talking, and I think from there, obviously MIT is interested in working with us because they need our experience in their data bank of experiences. So I think in that way, they're trying to grow a database that can be used for renewables, not just here, but anywhere.
Right.
So I really feel like in the long run, being the tip of the spear, it's incumbent on us to take our experience and hopefully use that to help the process, not just for ourselves, but for anybody that is facing these kinds of dilemmas where there is controversy. I think it's a great byproduct of being the tip of the spear.
Now, did Avangard agree to be part of this process?
I have no idea because as she said, I mean, they're just starting down the road, but everything remains confidential. Unless
Sure.
I'm assuming when you're in the process, you could say, I want my name and information shared. So I think at that point, they want everything to be confidential because they want people to feel free to speak without.
Okay.
So I
Sure,
don't know, but I think if they don't participate, that provides us with a lot of information as well. So.
Yeah, in my experience, the genesis of having a third party neutral was the developer. So
Yeah, well,
but
we'll
this
see.
case,
We'll see what happens, right?
yeah, okay, all right.
Yeah.
Well, good. No, I think it's a good thing. So the other thing, just wanted to talk about. This is on the agenda for the upcoming town council meeting. Is a workshop on the Commonwealth, well, what was formerly called the Commonwealth Wind Project or New England Wind 2, with some proposals. It wasn't clear to me whether they're alternative proposals or just individual proposals, but
Which one is that, Barry? Is that Craigville Beach or is that, it's not
no,
Dowsett?
this is Dows's Beach. So
Oh, it
this
is?
is the third project.
I thought that was on hold for now.
Well, yeah, so the issue has come up. It's on hold in the sense that Avangrid has not moved forward in the siting board process. And I don't think they've completed the environmental review. They did not get a power purchase agreement from the last solicitation.
Okay.
But the town has intervened in the siting board process, but they haven't, to my knowledge, formally taken a position on the project. And the discussion is, should they formally take a position, this is the way I understand it, against the landing in Dows's Beach, or should it be against a landing anywhere in the town, or should it be against any infrastructure, or cables or anything else within the town? And should they direct the town manager to negotiate or commence negotiations for a host community agreement? So that's what was on the agenda. I'm not sure whether these are mutually exclusive or not, but Kristen, it's
Yeah, right
any.
now, as it stands, the town manager's ability to discuss any project related information to the Dows's project has been on hold. The town
Right.
manager is actually not allowed to go there as it stands. So in the MEPA filings, the town of Barnstable stated its position that it was not in favor of a landing at Dows's due to the ecological system that it may potentially disrupt. So here we are with projects 1 and 2 kind of in the states that they're in. Number 3, obviously, as you said, Barry, was not awarded, but that doesn't mean that it's going away. So I think the town council feels that at some point we need to make a statement as to where the town as a whole stands for the third project, so that informs the state, federal government, and the developer where we're at. And it's not really fully certain where that will land because, of course, the previous meeting that we had where we discussed it, people were very quiet and didn't quite take a stand on the dais. So we're trying to move that forward so that the town is informed as to what it needs to do in order to protect Dows's or move forward.
Okay, and I guess my question is whether these are mutual. For example, you could say, okay, the town opposes a landing at Dows's Beach. However, we will allow communication with the project. So at least in my experience, I've had a lot of experience where you have opponents, but you can talk to them.
I think we're gonna find out on Thursday night, Harry.
Okay, all right.
I don't think that we have to say yes to all or no to all. I mean, I think the whole goal is to kind of stimulate conversation against that the town, because the town has really never taken a formal position on the dais other than in the MIPA filings we filed, we weren't in support of that landing location. And then we put everything on hold through the town council. So it's kind of like we're in this holding pattern. And I think at some point we need to kind of have more clarity so that, again, the town manager and the legal department knows what they can and can't do, where the town stands, those kinds of things. So I think we're just hoping to get some more clarity around that.
Yeah, okay, that's a fair point. And I think it's really almost getting ahead of the curve because Avangrid really, as far as I can see, hasn't pushed this project ahead to the same degree the other projects were pushed ahead.
Yeah, I think it'll be an interesting conversation.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good. Thank you. So I think that's all I had for an update. For updates, does anyone else have anything? If not, what do we do with the minutes from the last meeting? Do you want to vote on it?
I don't feel very good about voting, not reading them. I'm embarrassed I haven't read them, but
okay. So let me ask that.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, what did you say, John?
I was going to suggest we could vote and Jane could abstain, or I don't really see any. Is there a problem with just deferring to the next meeting?
Yeah, that's what
there have been times when it wouldn't be the first time we've done that.
Before.
Yeah, I wanted to ask Chris that, and to the extent Kristen knows as well. Is there any issue with just deferring approving the minutes until the next meeting? I'm sorry, you're on mute.
Chris.
I'm not hearing you.
I think you could just make a motion to put the minutes to the next time. I think that'd be fine.
Okay, well, Chris, I know your lips are moving, but I can't hear you. Anyway, why don't we just defer this till the next meeting? Okay, there we go. Okay, and then for the agenda for the next meeting, so let's see, we'll have green communities, food waste, climate change, and climate science. And I'll ask Rob at this point, do we include electric vehicle charging on or not? Or are we done with that?
I don't know. Depends on whether we want to go forward and bother trying to get a thing through town council to allow charging stations in driveways and do a zoning change.
Okay, well, let's keep it.
That would be the next thing.
Okay, let's keep it.
I would say no.
You say no. Okay, so it won't be on the agenda. Okay, all right. So let's not have that on the agenda, and then, but we'll include, call it indoor air quality.
Are you interested in seeing a demonstration of some of the monitors? Because it's pretty interesting technology, and it applies. It's kind of a basic public health issue, because when you do nothing to indoor air, the average indoor air is 2 to 5 times more polluted than the outdoor air in the same environment. You can go on the EPA and find a slide set that talks about it, but it's a fairly important issue, and it relates to how green is a building. not necessarily the greenest building has the best indoor air quality, because if they make them very tight and you don't get ventilation, they can have terrible, the most energy efficient
Well, I'll tell
building.
you what, why don't we include it on the agenda, and then I see we're, running out of time here, but, and then Jane, maybe you and I can have a talk about what to include or
I
not.
want it to be informational, not necessarily the local politics, but just the whole concept. I think it's an important area for this committee to be aware of. I'm not sure we need to move forward as a committee to take
Okay.
action.
Well, let's include it in the agenda, and we'll have a separate conversation about, what that would be.
Okay.
Okay, anyone have anything else? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay. All right, all in favor of moving to adjourn? That's always very popular. Okay.
Oh, we've done a lot.
Okay.
Good meeting.